Well, dia div. Agus falchigo di Terra Incogweirdos, Malarchus. Hello, and welcome to Terra Incogweirdos, my friends. We're coming to you today from Old Stagecoach Road, right outside of Swiss Home, Oregon, in Lane County. There's many beautiful seasonal waterfalls that are sprouting up all over the place, and I saw this one yesterday while I was walking my dog out here, and I just wanted to get it in the video. So I'll leave the window open, but my backside's getting very wet, so at some point I might have to close the window up. So I wanted to come to you guys today and tell you about possibly the scariest thing that happened to me. In my early 20s, I had a bit of a run-in with a couple of demons, and it was kind of that time in life where if you're going to be courted by the dark side, it's that time when they come and try to lure you with the things that they think your soul really wants, and this was that time in my life. I had been having dreams about one particular demon whom I will never name, because just don't say the names of demons out loud unless you want them showing up right away. So this particular demon was the one who was tasked with trying to win me over, and I managed to evade that, but not without consequences. Demons, they don't play, and if you don't give them what they want, they're going to let you know, and they're going to cause problems in your life. So that's what happened with me. So this was in that portion of my life when all that was happening. And I think I would have been, I'm going to say I was 24 years old at the time, living in my mom's house with my youngest son and my husband of the time, and my second son wasn't born yet. So my husband and I slept in the front room of the house, and I remember it being, it was either spring or summertime when this happened. So my husband and I are asleep, and we were in a waterbed, and may or may not be important fact to know. And I was heavily asleep, and I awoke to what I thought was my husband indicating that he wanted to have intercourse with me by prying my thighs apart with his hands. He actually, at first it felt like hands, and then it felt like he had gotten on top of me and was wedging his leg in between my legs and trying to force open my legs with his knees. Now, this is completely uncharacteristic. My husband would never attempt to engage me in intercourse when I was not fully conscious. Oh, sorry, by the way, that's my Jeep and its lovely heating system that just likes to make that knocking sound even when you're not using it, because I don't even have it turned on. Anyway, so I woke up, and my eyes were still closed, and you know, my brain, like, I was groggy, and my brain was like, well, this is really weird. Like, it was just really weird for my husband to be engaging in that sort of, like, wake you up in the middle of the night activity. I mean, we were parents of a young kid, and we needed our sleep, and if we were gonna be knocking boots, it was gonna be happening at a decent time of day, not in the middle of the night. Anyway, so I felt this, and my eyes were still closed. So I put my hands on his chest. He was, halfway laying on top of me, and I put my hands on his chest, and I said, no, honey, I'm too tired. I had both of my hands on his chest, and as I did that, I opened my eyes, and the room was not pitch black. It was early morning. It was probably about 3:30 in the morning, and there was some ambient light from the street, so the room wasn't totally black. And as I opened my eyes with my hands on his chest, Incogweirdos, there was no one there. There was somebody there, but I couldn't see them. I could feel them, and it was a man, and the man was trying to rape me. He was physically trying to pry my thighs apart and rape me. And when I had the realization that this wasn't my husband, my body became paralyzed. So in this sense, it was very much like the term just completely left my mind. Sleep paralysis. There it is. Woo! It was very much like sleep paralysis, but there was no hag, there was no dark man. There was an invisible entity on top of me, very actively trying to rape me, and I was paralyzed. Now, maybe being paralyzed was part of that entity's game, maybe being paralyzed is what allows an incubus to actually physically attack a woman. But in this case, the paralysis made it so that my thighs could not be pried apart because they were locked in this position. And the terror in me was so overwhelming and palpable that I couldn't even breathe. I've never been so terrified in my life before or since. And it was physically actively doing all sorts of things to my body and clearly, trying to consummate this act. And as this was happening, the fear was at first so overwhelming that I didn't think, I didn't know how I was going to get out of this situation. And then what kicked in was a memory of how many times prior to that I had been sexually assaulted, and it was more than I could count on both my hands. And suddenly, with that thought, this immense anger just built up inside of me, like, I am not having this. I have had enough of this BS in my life from humans, and it ain't gonna happen from a spirit. I don't give a SHIT who you are or what you are not doing this. And as I had this thought of anger, I consciously felt myself drawing energy up from the ground, and I visualized the earth in my mind, and I took a deep breath and I pulled all of the energy up from the earth and into my body that I possibly could. And as I did this, every muscle in my body was tensed against the weight of this being. And I know it was a demon. This demon that was on top of me and physically heavier and stronger than I was. And this anger just exploded inside of me, and Earth Mother heard me, and she went this huge surge of energy to me. And as that happened, it all happened really fast, like within seconds. And because my body was tensed and pushing against the weight, I broke through the paralysis. And as I broke through the paralysis, because my body had been fighting so hard, my body hurled forward up off of the bed, and my torso came up, and I was moving so strongly and violently that I slammed forward onto my kneecaps, so my face hit my kneecaps. And the entity, I felt it like jump off of me, right? Okay, so it's off of me, but I can feel that thing is still in the room with me, all right? And my husband has been asleep next to me while this whole thing is happening. So I get in maybe 2 or 3 breaths. And just as I'm about to start saying my protection prayer, which I taught you in my last video, Creator is, I am the light, let only that which is good and that which is of Creator enter in. I started to say that, and just as I started to intone that prayer, my husband, lying next to me, who was dead asleep, suddenly sits bolt upright, and he looks around, and he looks at me, and he freaking launches himself on me. That freaking demon jumped into him and used his body to attack me. So now, and I knew it. It wasn't my husband. I mean, I could see in his eyes, and that was not my husband. And I know that freaking demon jumped off of me and into him, and it started to try to physically attack me. And I started to beat him with my fists, beating his chest and beating his head. And just as it may have gone on for 10 seconds, and then suddenly my husband stops attacking me. He sits bolt upright, and he looks around, and then he drops over and starts snoring, dead asleep, next to me. And here I am, knowing that effing thing is still in the GD room with me, and it's still trying to attack me, but I have my faculties back, and I can fight now. So I started to intone the prayer, and I intoned that prayer over and over for the next 3 hours until the flippin' sun came up, and I felt that entity finally leave the room when the sun came up. And I kept just sitting there. I just sat there with my legs pulled up to my chest, with my arms wrapped around my legs, and I repeated that prayer for 3 hours. And after the sun came in the room and the demon left the room, I continued to intone that prayer until my husband woke up. So my husband wakes up, and he looks at me, and he says, "What's wrong? Why are you sitting like that?" And I said to him, "Oh, that was kind of weird last night." And he said, "What are you talking about?" And I said, "When you tried to have sex with me in the middle of the night." And he looked at me, and I could just tell he did not know what the hell I was talking about. He was absolutely clueless. He did not wake up. That demon jumped into his body and tried to attack me using his body. That was probably the most terrifying experience I have ever had, and I do not know what would have happened if I hadn't had training that allowed me to break that paralysis, and if I hadn't had that prayer stashed away to keep that thing at bay for hours and keep it from attacking me. So later on I had some other bad experiences with what I assume was the same entity, but it sort of jumped into my dreams because I think it realized that it wasn't going to have its way with me in the physical, so it started to try to manipulate my internal landscape, and luckily I knew what it was up to, and I was able to deflect it in the dream world as well. And then it started to bother a friend of mine who sat across from me at work, and I told my friend what was going on. He explained to me what kind of dreams he was having, and I was like, and I said, it's this demon, and he's trying to do this to you, and he wants your soul. That's what he wants. He wants your soul, and you need to tell him to go away. You need to say no, and you need to tell him to go away. And then he comes in the next day, and he said, he came to me again last night, and he told me, don't you listen to that effing bee. She's an effing liar. I can give you everything you want if you just give me what I want. And I was like, dude. So at that point, the demon kept coming to me in my dreams until we finally made an agreement. And the agreement was he would leave off of me if I left off him. I'm not allowed to speak his name. I'm not allowed to tell people to deny him when he comes calling and asks for your soul. But I don't think I need to tell you that, Incogweirdos, do I? If anybody comes calling and asking for your soul, what kind of answer are you going to give? So I'm not really worried about you, and I haven't broken my pact. And I guess if it turns out that that demon feels that I have broken my pact, then you are not going to be hearing from Aunt Angie anytime soon, or perhaps ever again. So you'll know. We'll all know. So the moral of this story, develop your psychic abilities so that you can fight off paranormal entities. Keep your prayers close at hand, and remember to invoke them when you need help, because the loving, compassionate energy of the universe is there to protect us all, and all you need to do is reach out your hand, and there you go. Alright, so Auntie Angie's scariest story, at least the one that impacted me the most viscerally, and from a lovely location. So a little bit of polar opposites in today's video. So I was going to do psychic practice with Purple Mommy today, but I think I'm going to take a break on that, seeing as there's the only things for me to really look at are the river in front of me and a tree and a bunch of trees. So we'll do psychic practice next time, demon allowing. If the demon allows me to survive, please do, demon, because you know, who are you going to mess with if not people like your Auntie Angie who know you're there? You know, it's part of the things with demons and ghosts. If you don't know they're there, they really can't mess with you, can they? Ignorance is bliss as well as oblivion, my friends. Alright, well, that's going to be all for today here on Terra Incogweirdo, the land where Para is normal. Thanks for coming and bringing your light, and we'll see you next time. Slan go fall, my beautiful Incogweirdos. Bye-bye. Get the waterfall in ya. Bye. Love ya.